I should have never opened my mouth about the Chris Benoit thing.
We all say things we regret. Unfortunately, these wrestlers said things on live TV that they could never take back. This is one of the darkest things said by anyone in WWE. In 2005, WWE brought back ECW for a one-time event with a pay-per-view called One Night Stand. A lot of the original ECW members were part of the show, including the controversial Mike Awesome. Awesome was hated by some former employees of ECW due to him leaving the company and signing a contract with WCW while he was still the ECW champion. This is what prompted Joey Styles to say this on commentary.
Suicide dive by Mike Awesome, and it's a shame he didn't succeed in taking his own life.
This would become a very infamous line less than 2 years later. In February 2007, Mike Awesome was found dead at his home as a result of hanging himself. Joey Styles hasn't publicly commented on this, but he has to regret what he said. If you're a wrestling fan, you've more than likely seen this clip.
We want the gold, sucker! Hulk Hogan, we coming for you!
Booker T dropping the N-word on live TV has become an infamous but popular clip. Most fans and wrestlers weren't upset by the unfortunate slip, but Booker T himself actually regrets it.
Immediately, it was the worst day of my life. I cringed. I cringed. I cringed when I said it. I mean, I literally, like, chills went through my body, and I was like, oh, God, what did I just say? And the thing is, what's not ironic about it, that's a word that I used to use, like, on a regular basis, like, every day, you know, in my neighborhood where I grew up. That it was common. It's just something that we said. But in the wrestling business, until that day, none of my peers had ever heard me use that word. Black guys or white guys. No one had ever heard me say that.
WWE fired this guy for what he said on live TV. In 2012, Titus O'Neil and Darren Young, the primetime players, were being managed by a man named AEW. During matches, AEW had a headset on that allowed fans to hear his trash talk. Unfortunately, AEW said something he should not have said.
Titus O'Neil is like Kobe Bryant at a hotel in Colorado. He's unstoppable.
This was referring to an incident in 2003 where NBA basketball player Kobe Bryant forced himself onto a 19-year-old hotel employee. Of course, this wasn't something to mention in a positive light, and WWE quickly apologized on air.
We would like to apologize, ladies and gentlemen, for the remarks made by AEW moments ago.
AEW explained on the Wrestling Inc. podcast what happened after he got backstage.
I got to the back, and that's when I felt the heat, you know. Everybody was kind of staring. Vince was over in his position, you know. He didn't look up or say anything. I was called to the back, and I was told that wasn't very good what I just did. And then they let me know that I had really messed up. I had to just sit in the locker room and think like, oh my God, you know, what has happened?
AEW was soon fired from WWE for the incident, but said he's regretful and apologized to WWE. It may have seemed harsh, but other WWE wrestlers felt the firing of AEW was appropriate.
I don't like to see anybody lose their job, but if anybody's justified in getting fired, you know, making fun of the great, I don't think it's funny.
What this wrestler said caused his entire career to derail. In 2007, Chris Benoit took his own life, as well as the lives of his wife and son. In the aftermath, a ton of negative attention was brought on to WWE and its wrestlers. Mr. Kennedy, who was involved in a major storyline with Vince McMahon at the time, did an interview with Fox News. Unfortunately, this question was asked.
You don't take steroids?
No.
You don't think there's a steroid problem in wrestling?
I think that there was a steroid problem at one time.
You don't think there is anymore?
I don't think there is anymore.
Not long after saying this, it would come out that Mr. Kennedy, along with multiple wrestlers, did receive steroids. Mr. Kennedy was suspended for 30 days, and while he did return, his career was never the same after. A few more mistakes would ultimately lead to Mr. Kennedy getting fired from WWE in 2009, and he's never been welcomed back. This aged like milk. During John Cena and The Rock's feud in the early 2010s, Cena would constantly take shots at The Rock for being a part-timer.
You're the WrestleMania host, Rock. That's your role. Know it. You tell these people that you love them. I'm here every week to show it.
A few years later, Cena would appear in WWE less and less as he focused more on his movie career. John Cena had turned into exactly what he criticized The Rock of becoming. When confronted with this fact, Cena said this.
With great respect, in the lead up to WrestleMania 28, you talked a lot about how The Rock wasn't there every single week,
yes,
and you were.
Yeah.
What do you say to wrestlers that say, you're kind of doing that right now?
I say they're 100% right. I'm sorry, I was wrong. wrong, and I spoke out of ignorance. I've told this to him that I'm sorry, and I can tell it to you, and I can tell it to you. I spoke out of ignorance, I was wrong, and I'm sorry. So for any WWE person right now saying, you're a part-timer, you're going to Hollywood, they're absolutely right. And if they can't see why I'm making those moves, I don't expect them to. I don't expect to change their mind.
In Nikki's defense, she didn't feel comfortable saying this. In 2011, Karma made her WWE debut. However, it was short-lived, as she would later discover she was pregnant and couldn't compete. Karma gave an inspiring speech on Raw about accomplishing her dreams and announcing that she was going to be taking time off. However, Nikki and Brie Bella interrupted and said this.
Yeah, looks aside, you're as big as a blimp. That guy must have been hooked with a seatbelt.
The Bellas made other distasteful jokes, and while they looked confident on TV, Nikki Bella wasn't.
And I just remember feeling like shit, and I went with what they said on paper. Yeah, I hated that feeling. It was so wrong, and I was like, I don't want cheap pops from the crowd anymore, and especially if it's not approved by the woman.
None of these WWE wrestlers approved of fans touching them inappropriately. To see that, watch this video.